On today's show, we're going to talk about expectations. Now, before we lose you entirely, I promise you this is a worthwhile one because today's team that we're focusing on the other 31 has the highest expectations maybe in the entire NHL, except for maybe the Stars and the Panthers. We're going to talk about it because it's Edmonton Oilers Day with Mark Spector and Kevin Karius as our guests. And Luds is back in studio. Let's get it started.
Get it ready, boys.
This is the DLS Stars podcast on Monday, August 25th. And boy, do we have a treat for you today. Let's start with the first treat, have Luddy back in studio. Craig Ludwig is so happy to be out of that cold, miserable, idyllic Wisconsin weather. Sam Nessler.
Allergies. I'm so happy to be back.
I do want to say one thing, though.
Oh.
No, this is to Luds' credit.
Right.
We make fun of his circa 2005 Microsoft Surface, whatever tablet thing that I swear, I don't know how it's still functioning.
Don't touch.
But yeah, like you touch it, it might just melt. Luds was in Wisconsin for weeks, months even. And not once did his connection on his remote to us glitch, lag.
Could hear the birds in the
birds.
background.
Yeah, just
Eagles.
the birds. That's it.
Yeah.
Deer.
My eagle flew across with a bunny in its claws last week. Yeah.
I'm amazed. So we're going to have to talk to our other member of our show, Sean Shapiro, because he has much newer equipment.
Do we have a guest?
We do. Should we get to it?
We should get to it.
Okay. Well, Sean's gear lags and skips, and it's brutal. This old thing with that high-speed Wi-Fi up in the woods in Wisconsin, 2 thumbs up. All right. Elijah's our producer for 2 more days. Tomorrow's his last day on a 1-year anniversary. But let's get into it. We're going to talk today about the Edmonton Oilers. And we have 2 great guests. Kevin Karius will be joining us on the second half, but it is definitely our pleasure to welcome in the senior columnist from Sportsnet. He covers the Oilers, and he, unlike Luds, is still in what looks like a paradise, at least at this time of year. Mark Spector from Sportsnet joins us. Spec, thanks for taking some time out of your very busy Lake Cottage season to talk hockey with us today.
Well, first of all, Ludwig was too cheap in 30 years to spend about $80 on a pair of shin pads. You think he's going to buy a new piece of computer equipment at this point? Right?
Bring it.
Hey, smart ass. Let me tell you. I got those my freshman year at the University of North Dakota, and they were used, so they were free.
They were free.
I didn't even pay for them then.
Now they'd be like $150 a leg.
Yeah, well, and the team that cried the most about them?
Who?
Who do you think?
Oh, it was definitely the Oilers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the formal I don't know if you know this, but the former GM there had sent a letter to the NHL proposing that there should be a maximum width for defenseman shin pads.
Come on.
After we had beat them one year.
Like the goalie.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh,
Can you believe that?
I actually can kind of believe
That's
it. In the
amazing.
day of stick checks on the ice and equipment guys sneaking into rooms to check curves, I'm sure it happened somewhere.
Remember, though, back then you didn't have to do crossovers, so you could have shin pads like that, right?
And they got wider every year, and you got to move less every single year.
Mark, I want to start off our show today with something that I was contemplating as we were getting ready to talk Oilers and Stars, because it's kind of crazy, but I believe, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that the expectations for the Oilers going into the 25-26 season are as high as you can possibly make them. Is it, or would it be by the fans in Edmonton considered a failure if they don't win the Stanley Cup in 25-26?
Well, short answer, yes, right? Big
Which
picture,
is insane, right?
Well, big picture, I don't think anyone here cared or cares when they win a Stanley Cup, but you got to win a Stanley Cup. And the fact they've been to 2 in a row and didn't win either time, I guess I'd say to you that if you're not winning it this year, when are you winning it? Like, it's time to win a Stanley Cup. If they don't win it this year, the pressure will be the same next year. Like, this program has to win a Stanley Cup, period. And until it does, the expectations will be right through the roof. And as a guy that covers the team, and I'm born and raised Edmontonian, and absolutely, it should be right through the roof, shouldn't it?
It should be. And, it's funny because we were talking to, was it Julian McKenzie last week, who said it would be, and maybe even we were doing our Detroit show on Friday, so it might have been Max Bultman, but one of those two guys, and maybe both of them, kind of echoed the same thing when we asked them about the Stars, and they said it would be a real shame if you have this good of a group of players and these teams that go a long way but never quite get over the hump. And they made the comparison to, the really good years of the San Jose Sharks. You're a great team. You're right there for a long time, but you never got your ring.
And nobody wants to be those San Jose Sharks, right? And listen, in the 80s, it was Boston and Philly that kept running into the Edmonton Oilers, and they couldn't beat them. And right now for the Oilers, they're running. Listen, the theme in Edmonton, right? So last year, 2 years ago, they lose in 7 games. It's a really close series. They lose. They go, okay, we got to get like about 15, 20% better next year. So they play the season. They're not that great, but then the playoffs come, and the Oilers, they win the first round. They roll through Vegas in 5, relatively easy. They beat Dallas in a far easier fashion in the Western Conference Final in 5 games than they had the year before. So they roll into the Cup and they go, hey, we are better. We're 20, maybe we're 20% better than we were. Like, I think we're good enough now to beat Florida Stanley Cup. And then they show up and Florida's like 40% better. That Florida team in 2025 would have beat the 2024 Florida team in 5 games. They were way better.
Yeah.
Edmonton improved. Florida got way better. And listen, that's Edmonton's problem. And no one feels sorry for them, and they got to figure it out. But I would say to you that from a Dallas Stars perspective, I think the Stars got further away from the Oilers as well last year.
Well, speaking of further away, I wish I was further away. No, Mark, so everything that you were talking about, bottom line, it starts with the general managers, okay? New guy comes into town. Just take us through the Kenny Holland era, transitioning into Stan taking over, and how you think they both did. And obviously Stan Bowman sees some changes coming along here, right? So how do you take one and move on to the other?
Well, Stan showed up at work and had those offer sheets from St. Louis lying on his desk when he walked in the door, right? Welcome to town. Here's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I think the Oilers messed that up. I think they should have let Broberg go and paid Holloway. And I think most of the people in the league would agree with me. I think the Oilers made a big mistake. They let Holloway go as a dumb idea. And I get it. They were under pressure. They're under salary cap pressure. I'm not telling you the job's easy, but hindsight tells us that signing Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson, those guys didn't help much. And they ate up the room you would have had to sign a young Holloway. So you know what? Bad set of transactions, no good. So Stan Bowman recovered. He spent the year recovering, and he made some moves. He brought in Jake Waldman on defense. He did this, he did that. He brought some guys in. You know what? He did get his team back to the Stanley Cup Final. So I have a hard time being overtly critical over any GM for any organization that lands his team in the Stanley Cup Final. I don't know about you. I think it's hard not to frame a season as successful when you get to the final. It's got to get more successful for Edmonton soon here, but being in a Cup Final can't be that bad a thing, can it?
Well, that's the question that I asked you originally, was going back to what's considered a failure of a season, because in all intents and purposes, if you can get to the 3rd round of the playoffs every year, you've had a great year. But fans in Dallas are frustrated and they fired their coach because of it. They haven't gotten over the hump. In Edmonton, you've gotten within 1 win of a Stanley Cup and 2 wins of a Stanley Cup in back-to-back years. That is, look, most teams and most fan bases would kill to be in the Oilers' position. But when you have McDavid and Draisaitl, franchise cornerstones, you have to feel like you're wasting their time if you're not getting that done, right?
Well, listen, like you do. I think you also got to step back, you guys, and you got to look at some stuff, and you got to say, like, they lose. The Edmonton Oilers lose their. You're playing Florida in the final, okay? You need to be stout. You need to play hard. You got to beat a physical team that comes at you like crazy. More than any team I've seen in the West, they're way harder and more physical play games. So right before the playoffs start, the Oilers lose Matthias Ekholm. He blows out his groin or his abdominal muscle. He's your biggest, stoutest, strongest defender. You don't have him. He comes back for the final. He's almost no use to you. He was not very good. Then Marchment blows through Hyman. Clean play, I'm not complaining. Busts his wrist, right, in the end of that Western Conference final. So your hardest go-to-the-net guy that scores all the greasy goals for you, he didn't even play in the final for you. So you lost two pretty big guys, right? Now the final starts. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins breaks his hand in the first game. He's the other first-line winger. So I'm not trying to make excuses, but what I'm trying to say to you is you played Florida. They were better than you. They might have beat you with those guys, okay? They might have beat you with those guys. But you played them without your most stout first pairing defenseman and your two first pairing wingers. One of them played and wasn't any good at all. Do you rebuild your team because you lost that series, guys? Or do you say, man, did we ever get some crappy luck? We got a tool around here. We got a tinker here, but I'm not sure we're ripping her down to the studs, are we?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to lay something out for you here, Mark. I'm not sure if you saw this last year in the playoffs, but the Stars and Oilers were playing Game 5 in Dallas here, right? And the Oilers scored 2 goals in their first 2 shots. Pete DeBoer pulls his franchise goalie, who had taken them to the Western Conference Final. I'm not sure if you caught that. It was kind of on the
it was a really subtle move in that game.
I'm just curious, Mark, your perspective, different than ours. Take us through your thoughts on that game and how Pete DeBoer handled that whole situation.
Well, the only thing that I really didn't like is I thought there was panic on the bench. I think we all agree. Otts comes to the bench. Nobody tells him he's coming out. He goes back. Now Pete DeBoer has to shout at him from 40 feet away. We all yell. We all lip read what he said to him. It wasn't pretty. And to me, that was the part I didn't like. Like, DeBoer is such a veteran, composed coach. He should have handled that better. But I'll tell you, and no one in Dallas is going to want to hear this, okay? Ottinger hadn't been any good against the Oilers for 2 series. If I'm Pete DeBoer, I'm probably pulling him too. Like, up here in Edmonton, everyone's on Stu Skinner every day. Oh, my God, if they had a goalie, we'd win the cup, and Stu Skinner's not good enough, and blah, blah, blah. You know who's been the best goalie in the last 2 Western Conference Finals by about a country mile?
Yeah.
Right? It hadn't been Ottinger. So I love Ottinger. I'd build my franchise around Ottinger. He's a American Olympic goalie. Like, that's how good he is. He's the top of the flight. And Skinner's been better than him in the last 2 series. So how can Skinner be so bad and Ottinger be so good? I'll tell you right now, if I'm a coach and my goalie keeps losing to the same team night after night after night, I pull him too, boys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Boy, you bring up such an interesting talking point with Stuart Skinner because his first round against LA was not anywhere near good enough. And I think we in Dallas thought we might be getting that when he came back in for the injured Calvin Pickard, and he clearly wasn't because he has outplayed Ottinger in 2 Western Conference Finals. And so that's my question to you, Mark, is everybody keeps thinking, and a lot of people thought that maybe they were going to go after John Gibson, and there's a handful of other goalie names that's been thrown out of what are they going to do, who are they going to target at the deadline or whatever. They've been able to get within 1 win and 2 wins of a Stanley Cup with Stuart Skinner and Pickard. Is that good enough? Can they win with that?
I mean, they might have to, because there just isn't, like, if you're trying to improve on Stu Skinner, okay, 2 years ago, if you do all the goalie stats and you look at all the different categories, not last year, 2 years ago, Stu Skinner was like the 8th best goalie in the league statistically, okay? So let's say he wasn't as good last year. Let's say he's been to 2 cups, in the playoffs, he won some pretty big games, right? I'm going to tell you, is he a top 11 or 12 goalie in the league? Let's say he is. Let's say he's a top 12 goalie. The only way you're going to get better then is if you go out and find a top 10 goalie somewhere. Like, who's a guy? Is Tampa trading Vasilevsky? No. Are the Islanders trading Sorokin? No. Is Shesterkin moving? No. Right? Is Ottinger moving? No. is the cat in I missed his name, Gustafsson in Minnesota. I think he's a great goalie. He's not going.
He's not going.
Anywhere. So my point is, until you can tell me about the team that's trading a top 10 goaltender in the National Hockey League, don't come to me and say, "Come on, Stan Bowman, let's go. Improve your goaltending." Like, you can improve on Pickard. You go out and find a better backup. Who cares? I don't need a better backup. Pickard's an excellent backup. What I need is a better starter. And I'll tell you what, guys, I've seen a lot of cups won with a lot of guys who aren't top 10 goalies in this league, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of guys.
Yep.
Aiden Hill, Corey Crawford, Antti Niemi, and the list goes on. So I think they can win with Stu Skinner, and I think the fact he's got him to 2 cups in a row, find me another goalie that got his team to 2 cups in a row lately. He's probably about a top 5 guy in the league.
All right, we got to
Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yeah, that's true too. We got to get to a quick ad break. We got to go a quick ad break, but more with Mark. Lots of, I mean, we could do this for an hour easily right here on DLLS.
Whether you need snapback, speaking of snapback,
Yep.
somebody's snapping back over there.
Woo, fired up.
Spector, I'm talking about. Good grief. Truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with every performance and style. Looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd? Branded Bills, well, they've got you covered with the best custom headwear. Start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel you need. They have a partner sponsorship, right? And with at least 40 colleges as part of their campus collection, including TCU, Texas Tech, and Texas. So head over to brandedbills.com and use code BBDLLS for 15% off. Sam,
What's that code again?
That's 2 B's, a double B.
B as in
then
Bob, B as in Bob.
And then there's a D,
Okay.
and then there's 2
D
L's.
as in dog.
And then there's that snake, that S.
Okay.
And you get 15% off. Again, that's BBDLLS.
Perfect. Thanks, Luds.
15% off, Sam. I'm just trying to get you to your minute read. There you go.
I appreciate it. Well, Monarch Money is offering more than that. They're offering 50% off your first year. Why is that worth it? Because Monarch Money is the best way to keep track of your money. I actually started using Monarch Money. I didn't set everything up yet, but I have the app set up just to see what it looks like, and it's a very simple interface. Puts everything, your properties, your investments, your bank accounts, everything in there in one place so you can keep track super easily, because financial dreams can feel out of reach if you don't have a clear picture of everything. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. So if you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is just for you. Named the best budgeting app of 2025 by the Wall Street Journal and Forbes' best app for couples. Not just for singles out there. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code DLS at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year. Monarchmoney.com with code DLS.
All right, let's bring Mark back on the screen. Luds, I'm going to let you go with the next one. Go for
I
it.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Your turn.
Mark, there was a series, or actually a few moments in one particular playoff game that still pisses me off a little bit. I don't know if you remember when there was a bit of a slash from one Darnell Nurse over the ankle or so of Rupe Hintz, and then like a couple, I don't know if it was 3-4 shifts later on his way to the bench. I
No,
believe
that was 2 games later.
Oh, was it 2 games later?
When Hintz came back.
It seemed like the next shift.
I know.
Okay, because nobody did anything the first shift. Anyway, then Bouchard chops him in the leg right in front of the bench, and nobody does. Did you guys talk about any of that? Or am I just the only one that thinks that there needed to be some kind of answer some way?
Are you kidding? Like, isn't somebody breaking a stick over Bouchard's ankle, or maybe McDavid's? Like, you know what? If that was my team and my best player, like, I'll be honest, guys, I watched hockey. Like, Lids, I'm an old dog like you. I covered all those Dallas Edmonton series back in the 90s, and like that slash that Nurse put on Hintz was, to me, who cares? That just happens every game. It was a fluky injury for Hintz, and it was too bad. But Bouchard's, oh my God.
Yeah.
The Dallas Stars bench saw that and nobody did anything. Yeah, I was very disappointed. That is a collective character flaw, my friend. I don't love that one bit.
Yeah, there's a couple people on this panel here that thought that the Nurse slash was like should have been sentenced to a year in prison. But I was like, I don't
think
know.
he might be exaggerating our take
I
there.
don't know. I heard guys complaining about it. I'm like,
Fans hated
oh
it.
my God.
Yeah, I will say I personally, I didn't think anything exactly what Mark just said. I never had any problem, even with Bouchard's, in terms of that should be a 5-minute major or that should be kicked out of the game. I don't care about any of that.
No, it was the
I'm
response.
with Luds saying that
Or lack
the
thereof.
fact that there was nothing is what really bugged me, and I don't understand how that can happen. And then the excuses afterwards were all about we're trying to win a game. We're trying to win a game. What were they down?
Yeah, they were down by 4
7
goals.
to 2
Yeah.
in the game after. So
That was the big one. The score in the game when it happened, it wasn't a close game anymore. Listen, that's where we are. And I mean, look, we're talking in Dallas here. I think we've all realized, and I think the Dallas Stars have kind of shown us they've got to a point, right? They can get to the third round, and they're a hell of a regular season team, and they obviously know how to win playoff series, so they've got a lot of those intangibles, but playoff hockey still stumps them a little bit. There's something that they're not figuring out, or they'd go further. And is it the physical play? I don't know what it is. Is it how to react in a moment like that? Maybe. Is it, should you be handing that stuff out more than you're receiving it? That could be it. I don't know exactly what it is, and I know Jim Nill's been down the road and around the block a hell of a lot more times than I have. And I know he's trying to figure it out every day, but that might be a little window into a Dallas Stars team that's got to figure something out here.
The addition of Glenn Gulletson might have some at least hint into what Nill is trying to find of that little bit different. And you kind of referenced it, Mark, with the physicality, because Gully has said 1% more. He wants 1% more from every player in the physicality department. It doesn't mean running around and headhunting. It means finishing your check instead of skating by a guy when he makes a play, and just being a little harder from games 1 to 82 so that game 83 isn't as big of an adjustment from the style of play of which they are accustomed. So from your covering of Gully as an assistant in Edmonton, what do you think the Stars are getting the second time around with him?
Well, a few things. I mean, Edmonton, he certainly gets a lot of credit for what's been the best power play in hockey for 5 years. And I get it. They got McDavid and Draisaitl, so, maybe anyone could do it. I'm not sure. But Gully knows what he's doing. He knows how to run a power play. The Stars power play will have several answers for every time they try something and the other team's got it figured out. They'll move to plan B very quickly because that's what Edmonton always did, and it worked. He comes from Hudson's Bay, Saskatchewan, which would make him by far the smartest Saskatchewan native that you're going to have on your show today. I know Karius is coming up, and that's not even a fair fight. So, hey, listen, I love Gully as a guy. He's a killer good person, a really great guy. He'll demand respect, and I guess I'll finish on this. He sees, I think, Luddy particularly, he sees what we see. There's got to be more edge, with Robertson and with I'm so far out of hockey, I'm forgetting names here. I mean, you got Rupe Hintz is such a skilled player. There's no question. You lost Marchment. That's a little bit of edge you lose. Wyatt Johnston's a small guy, not very physical. My point is this. You got a bunch of skill in Dallas, but it's not inside of big bodies that make it hurt, And that's
Hey, Mark, get a little closer to the screen and say that again. And say it loud.
Right. So that's a problem. Like, everybody wants Eric Lindros. Sure, you don't get him. Evander Kane, if he was 5'8", he wouldn't be in the league anymore. But he's not. He's big and he's tough and he's skilled and he's hard to play against, man. And everybody gives him a chance. He gets to play for as many teams as he wants because he's a rare guy. Dallas needs some of that. If they can't find it from the guys they got, they're going to have to find it elsewhere.
Mark, I'm curious if you have any insight on the hire of David Pelche, right? That's how you say it? Pelche.
Yeah.
I know he was in Edmonton for a while. The only thing we kind of know is that he's going to serve as a little bit of a liaison with the players, kind of be there for the superstar players, which from sources that I've heard, he kind of transitioned into that a little bit with Edmonton. I'm curious your thoughts on that hire at all.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, I first met Dave Pelche when him and Jamie Salé were winning gold medals in figure skating. Right? Remember the whole French judge thing for you folks out in Dallas? I don't know if you remember I forget
Yep.
what Olympics that was, but that was Dave Pelche. He was the one that was all messed up in that French judge deal. And he's transitioned. He was a skating coach, of course. He's a fantastic skater, obviously. And he's transitioned under the Oilers as to a bit of a liaison, right, between the coaching staff and Edmonton's got some superstars, a couple of them for sure. And I think that's an interesting hire, and I think it's an interesting role, Luds. I've never seen this kind of role where they bring a guy in and they go, look, this guy's going to kind of work with some of our best guys. He's going to bring some ideas to the coaching staff. He's formed a bit of a new niche in a hockey dressing room that I don't know if it's been around much. So he's very smart. He's very well spoken. He's a really good guy. He'll help everybody with their skating. Can't be a bad hire, guys.
I get one more?
If you'd like.
Normally I don't get any more.
I would love to give you another one.
Well, you've probably been expecting this. Connor McDavid in his contract.
Yep.
Mark, is he I mean, do you see him going long term? I mean, I don't think he's going anywhere. I'd be surprised if he does. I mean, Draisaitl, when something went through this process very similar, right, a year ago. How do you see his contract playing out?
Well, if I was Draisaitl signed for 8 years. They're best buddies. Wives are best buddies. I see absolutely expecting in the next, I'd say before training camp opens on September 17th, I'm expecting a press conference. If I'm Judd Moldaver, the agent for Connor McDavid, I'm signing a 4-year contract, no longer. The cap's going up through the roof. So it doesn't take even a sports writer and an old defenseman can figure out that 18% of the cap today is not going to be 18% of the cap in 5 years. So if I'm McDavid, I sign a 4-year deal. I try to get this cup one in Edmonton, maybe 2 if things turn out. And then I look at my life 4 years from now and I say, okay, what am I doing? Is it going to be Oilers all the way? Or is this program over? Like you know how this works? Look at Crosby in Pittsburgh, right? That program is over. That program is over. They won't make the playoffs. Forget winning Stanley Cups. There are no playoffs likely left in Crosby's career there. I don't think McDavid will set himself up the same way.
And, it's funny you say that because you wrote a piece, I want to say it was right after free agency, beginning of July. And you're absolutely right because it's not just about the money for him because he's going to get huge money. It does, I don't want to say it doesn't matter because it does, but he said, I mean, you've covered him. I keep hearing him say it's about what can the Oilers do for him, not just what can they pay him.
Yeah, his concern is this. My understanding is this. They really like the McDavid camp will tell you we got a chance to win a Stanley Cup this year. Absolutely for sure. But after that, right? Ekholm's getting old. Hyman's getting old. Nugent Hopkins is getting old. They got guys like Henrique and Janmark and they got some old cats on that team. So now all those most of those contracts are coming up, not Hyman and Nugent Hopkins, but the other guys, they can replace them. So Stan Bowman's got to say, he's got to impress upon the McDavid camp. If you sign with us, your Stanley Cup window doesn't end in 1 year. We're going to extend that Stanley Cup window for as long as you're here. And at some point, McDavid's going to have to trust that Bowman can do that. I guess that's the best way to do it. There's no promises here. But I think, you don't win a Stanley Cup when everyone on your team's 35, right? So, he brought in Ike Howard this year, young American guy, really good young player. They've got a couple of young players coming in. So Bowman's shown he knows what he's doing. So it's up to McDavid to buy in or buy out.
So, Mark, would you say, is there negotiating over this contract? Or does this Connor comes in and said, this is what I want to make? I mean, does Stan have the nuggets to say, no, I'm not, not doing that?
Yeah. There is absolutely no negotiating down this contract. From ownership on down, if Connor McDavid walked in the door and said, I want 8 years at a certain number, and Stan said no, he would lose his job, I think. Right? Like, guys, think of TV numbers, right? Which drives up your advertising. Think of jersey sales. Think of the value of your franchise. Think of what you can charge for tickets because you get to watch McDavid every night. Like, this guy, he pays for himself. So you give him whatever he needs to stay here. There is absolutely not a single question asked.
Mark, Dallas knows all about that. We just mentioned Luka Doncic, unfortunately.
There you go.
So let me ask you this.
Right.
Everybody that we brought on, I can't believe the time's gone by this fast. It always seems to, but we could talk to you for at least 3 hours, it seems. So
then you'd have to pay me.
That's true. That's probably why we don't do it that long. So
somebody's got to pay for that gardening back there.
I mean, it's immaculate. Right. That landscaping. Chef's kiss. So we've been asking every guest during this summer series we've done to give us their non-Dallas Stars perspective on the Stars. You, of course, more than most because of the playoff series the last couple of years, have a pretty good knowledge of the Dallas Stars. So, and you've already hinted a little bit at it, but please tell us what you think of the Stars going into the 25-26 season.
I like them because they're not old. They're not aging out. They, I think we talked about, I think they need to get a little bit harder to play against when the chips are down. I'm looking at the Central, you guys, and the team that worries me is Winnipeg. Like, if Winnipeg figures it out, if the goalie Hellebuck figures it out how to play in the playoffs, that could be a problem for Dallas. You know, I like Winnipeg. I'll tell you right now, and I'm telling you the truth. I like Winnipeg better than Dallas, but Winnipeg never gets it done in the playoffs, and Dallas does. So I guess if Winnipeg figures it out, it won't be the same matchup in the Western Conference Final. How about that? If they don't, I don't see Colorado beating Dallas. I certainly don't see St. Louis beating Dallas. Not Nashville, not Winnipeg. Who am I missing, guys? Not Chicago.
I mean, honestly, I'd be more worried about Vegas than anybody else in the Central.
Yeah, and Vegas is, I have a weird perspective, you guys, because Vegas, Edmonton went through Vegas 2 years ago, and oh man, it was a tong war. And then they got Dallas, and holy man, that was a tough 6-game series. Dallas probably should have won it. And then last year, the Oilers rolled over both of them in 5 games, and it really wasn't that hard. So I have a weird look at Vegas. To me, in my eyes, you guys, this is pure honesty. Vegas and Dallas, they got to get a whole bunch better if they're going to beat Edmonton this year because they fell further behind last year. Is that fair?
It's very fair. In fact, a lot of the guests we brought on cover teams that are enviable of where the Stars or the Oilers are in their trajectories, and so they would kill to be in the Dallas Stars' shoes. And Luds will sort of shake his head and go, boy, everybody's saying they're in that mix of cup contenders, which I think they are, but doesn't it kind of feel like the Stars have something to prove from the players they've lost from the offseason?
Well, it's a goofy place to be. Like, I'm covering a team that's been to 2 cups in a row, and nobody's happy with them. And everyone's saying, oh, man, look at these guys. They're not good enough. And you guys are in a town that's been to 3 Western Conference Finals in a row, and they're all saying the same thing. So, like, I guess maybe we should just all blame all those teams in the East that can't eliminate Florida for us.
Oh, Mark, you're a gem.
It's the Leafs' fault.
So I
always.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. We got to get to Kevin next. But I said this to you personally last year, and I'll say it to you publicly now. One of the things I really enjoy about what you do is how you ask questions in press conferences to try to elicit more interesting answers than the doldrums we usually get in a scrum format. And it's unique, and I enjoy it. And
are you trying to say he stirs the pot?
Sometimes it works, and I'm here for it. So thank you for that, and thank you for joining our show today.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, boys. Thank you for being on the show. Call anytime.
Mark Spector from Sportsnet. He is a gem. Make sure you check out his stuff. It's wonderful. Kevin Karius from the Kevin Karius Show up in Edmonton will be our guest next, right here on DLLS.
But first,
what if I told you?
What if I told you?
You're on time.
I'm ready now.
All right.
We, as in the DLS Cowboys team, not us 3 idiots, are headed to Las Vegas with True Fan Travel for the ultimate fan experience. DLS is taking over the Strip for an unforgettable weekend in Vegas, and you need to be there. Join us as the Cowboys take on the Raiders on November 17th, Monday Night Football. This all-inclusive trip with DLS includes a 3-night stay at a luxury Vegas resort, game tickets, VIP parties, exclusive events with the DLS crew and fellow diehard fans, and much, much more. This is how Dallas does Vegas. Book now at truefantravel.com. You might be asking, why did you hurry through that? You normally try to kill time on that one. I have something cooler to tell you about, and it is happening tonight.
Oh,
in this very DLS studio. It is with DLS Mavs podcast host Bobby Carella, and it is going to be awesome.
Wait a minute. What day is it?
Tonight.
Luds, it's tonight.
Tonight, Luds. Tonight.
Not tomorrow.
7 o'clock.
You told me it was
Tuesday. I
Tuesday
did.
to 9 p.m. Bobby and the DLS Mavs crew will be hosting a film session and Q&A for the Mavs in the DLS studio. interactive film session plus Q&A 7 to 9 p.m. tonight. It's going to be awesome. Food and drinks are included, I believe, coming from
catered from Hooters.
From Hooters.
Yeah, which just opened
is why
last
Luz
week.
is thinking about making it. And it's $10. That's it, Luz. Only $10. You can come for free. How's that?
But if you do want to get tickets, you have to be a diehard to get those tickets. $10. All additional proceeds will be donated to Big Brothers, See that
Big
QR
Sisters.
code down there?
Right
Scan
there in the bottom
sign
corner.
up to be a diehard, then get the tickets on the
guys,
website.
more incentive to make this work. If we do it right here tonight, maybe we will get to do one of these. And
a Stars Q&A.
that'll
with
go
Luz.
all off the
Confused.
rails.
Is this here tonight?
Yeah.
Here
I
tonight.
thought it was at Hooters.
No, it's
Oh, well,
they're
then I
bringing the
definitely
food-
can't make
they're
it.
bringing
I
from the
thought- no,
They're
Hooters to
catering
here.
the food here.
Oh.
But if it goes well,
Be a
Luz,
diehard if you're not already.
maybe
and if
we
you
can
are,
do one with you
scan the
doing a
QR
film
code
session.
and add it. Let's do it.
Luz is already busy. All right, let's bring on our other guest for today's
busy.
show. He is the morning host on Sports 1440 in Edmonton as the self-titled Kevin Karius Show, as we please welcome Kevin Karius to the program.
There
Hi,
he
Kevin.
is. Oh, he's also got the beautiful background.
Afternoon, guys. Yeah, good to be with you for sure.
You guys are flaunting, both you and Mark are flaunting the much more preferred weather in Edmonton than Dallas right now. I'm here for it, but it also hurts.
I also heard you guys talking about Spec's garden in the background. The only thing Spec can grow is hair out of his nose and ears.
You must have heard the comment he made about Saskatchewan.
Yeah. He's always beaking me every morning at 8 o'clock, so why change it now for your guys' show?
I love it. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We have so much to talk about when it comes to Oilers and Stars, and it brings up good and bad memories especially for Stars fans, because the Oilers have been their foil for the last 2 years. And I think Spec was right. We talked about it at length on our show that they were probably better 2 years ago, and last year Edmonton was clearly the team that they deserved to win that series. I thought the Stars were going to win more in 2024. But here we are, and I said this to Mark. Both of these clubs, 1 degree different because of Stanley Cup Final versus Conference Final, but both have exceedingly ridiculous expectations from their fan base right now.
I caught the very end when Spec was saying that, and it's almost like Oiler fans are disappointed in the sense that they've only made it to 2 Cup Finals in 2 consecutive years. It's crazy. People forget how hard it is to win in this league. I think Craig would say the same thing. Just in my estimation, just to get to the conference final is a successful season, because the teams that you guys already mentioned, Dallas, Vegas, Colorado, any one of those teams could easily go to the Stanley Cup Final next year. And then what are we looking at for the Oilers? 3 years in a row where they don't reach their ultimate goal. It's so tough to win, but again, I think you're exactly right, bang on, in the sense that the two fan bases want more. They want to win, especially here being so close. A goal away 2 years ago, and to have it down to a best of 3 with 2 games on home ice last year, that wasn't a good performance in games 5 and 6 in the Stanley Cup Final. So they still have a ways to go to reach that ultimate goal.
I know that the Cup is the ultimate goal, but just if you look at eras of Oilers hockey, is right now the second best era of the Oilers franchise besides the 84-90 run where they won 5 cups in 7 years?
Yeah, without question. And it goes just because you can go down to the rink every day and every game and watch, arguably the 2 best players in the world in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. The 80s, and Craig would attest to this, that was a special time here in Edmonton in the sense that you had, again, a core group that was better than anything else that any team could roll out on any given night. There's no denying that. I mean, you can look at the Oilers representation in the 84 and 87 Canada Cups. That tells you how good those guys are. But you're right, Owen, in the sense that right now it's probably the second best era in Oilers history.
Kevin, we had plenty of time to talk about this while the Oilers were in the Stanley Cup Final, but from your perspective, what was the main reason? Was it just a better Oilers team that beat the Stars? Was it the Stars goaltending was an issue? Was it physicality? What were the main things you saw that led to that? What was, in the end, a pretty easy series for Edmonton?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of everything there. A lot of talk here was that Stu Skinner outplayed Jake Ottinger, and that was clear to see. But I think maybe a little bit of everything. They got some timely scoring. They got some good play defensively from a few guys that maybe didn't show up earlier on in the playoffs, most notably the Kings series when they were down 2-0 to LA. But I would say a little bit of everything, and they were the better team last year for sure. Also, I mean, with Mikko Rantanen, his performance in the series probably wasn't what he would have been hoping for. But I would say a little bit of everything that all around they were the better team.
Well, Kevin, do you think that has something to do with the coach and a system and a style? Because when you go over the last 3 years, Edmonton's goals for are declining by like 30 goals a year. And it's not because Leon stopped scoring and Connor's putting up 100 points every year. Do you think it has something to do with this? You know, we're not just going to try to be this team in the regular season. We're going to try to be a complete team that we know how to win now in the playoffs, even though they haven't held the cup up, but they're going to try to play more of that rounded game.
I think you're right on, bang on there, Craig, in the sense that, and when you played, you guys wanted to win 3-2, 2-1. I think the team learned how to do that in the last year and a little bit. They're not afraid to play a 2-1 game. I think prior to that, they would have been more happy and more comfortable. That's probably the correct word, more comfortable playing a 5-3 game or something like that. They have a little more maybe depth on defense that they never had before. That has to do a little bit with the acquisition of Jake Wallman. So it'll be interesting to see what he does for a full season here after just comparing to what he did at the deadline. But I think their top four defense, you know, those top four guys are, you can stack them up with a lot of good teams, good defenses, top four in the NHL. They are maybe lacking a little bit of depth and maybe a little bit on the right-handed side, although Wallman, I would suspect, goes over to the right side, and Brett Kulak could do that too. So I think it's a little bit about everything there, Craig.
I want to ask you, Kevin, about the offseason losses, because we'll get into, you know, what they've added. And you mentioned Jake Wallman. I still think that's an absolute steal of a trade deadline move, considering they have him Luds for $3.4 million this year for Jake. I mean, that's ridiculously good value. But Evander Kane, Connor Brown, Corey Perry, John Klingberg, to I'm sure the disappointment of many, a lesser extent, Victor Arvidsson. What's that collective loss going? Because the Stars went through this too. The Stars are not the same team they were in the Western Conference Final, even if you had them all healthy. And of course, Oilers were banged up too, losing Hyman, etc. You know, Ekholm wasn't himself. But what's this? Is there any regression from the team that played the Panthers in the Cup Final?
Toughness, grit. Those are the two biggest things. When you lose Kane and Perry, they were your probably two grittiest forwards, although Evander never played in the regular season, so you don't have that comparable. On the back end, really, you know, you have some guy that can answer, determined, if you want to call it that, in Darnell Nurse, but they don't have that up front anymore, with the exception of Trent Frederick. And I mean, this is a guy that is really going to have to step up his physical play next year. We didn't see what he could do last year at all in the regular season, only played 7 minutes. But we did see a little bit of it in the playoffs. He's got to take it to another step even further, because they lost size, they lost grit, they lost toughness. That is going to be their biggest factor, their biggest concern, comparing last year's roster to this year's team.
Kevin, I was going to say, you just brought up Trent Frederick. That was my next question for you. It's not super often that a player who's bringing in maybe 15 points, I know he had one career year with Boston where I think he had 40, gets an 8-year deal worth almost $31 million. What is your take on that contract? And then on the other side of it, is he someone that can bring 35, 40 points, or is he more of a 15, 20-point guy that's more on the physicality side?
I think it's the former, not the latter. I would say he's a 15 to 18 goal guy, depending on who he plays with. And I think he might see some time in the top six. He can go from left to center as well. I think he's a 15 to 18 goal guy. And I think he's probably a 35 to 40 point guy. So I think there's a lot more than what Oiler fans saw. I think Bruin fans know what they were getting and what they had in him. I like the contract, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a value deal when it comes into year, call it 3, 4, and then moving forward. So I'm not disappointed with the deal. I think it's good that he's locked up long term.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and we will have more with Kevin, Oilers and Stars, and all that implies on DLS next. But first, it's my turn, and I want to tell you about something I was supposed to do at the top of the show, but we got so excited that Luds was back and that Spec and Kevin were coming on.
Don't tell Ben, Elijah.
The $36 football club introductory offer. It's a new thing that started today. It was me. I fumbled it, but we'll make up for it. Scan that QR code because this is a new promotion. You can become a diehard for your first year of an introductory offer and get a new specific football club t-shirt to go along with it. Not just anything. They have this one, the 88 Club, and there's a couple other football club shirts available that you can get. It's a part of this special thing, gearing up for the NFL season, which starts right after Labor Day. With being a diehard, of course, you get everything that is included with that in terms of the writing that Sam and Sean do on the Stars, Tim with the Mavs, Clarence with the Cowboys, Jeff with the Rangers. But you also get discounts on all merchandise, discounts on events, access to events like the Mavs film session and Q&A they're doing tonight with Bobby and the Mavs show. Plus, you also get other events like Sam was talking about earlier, the DLS Cowboys trip to Vegas. You get a discount on that. And of course, you don't have to pay for it. Even if you're not a diehard, sign up for the newsletter because Ali is our new writer for the newsletter. He started, I believe, last week was his first newsletter. He's done it now for a few days. And you get in your inbox at 8 in the morning Central Time every day news about all four of the teams that DLS has. Big, obviously, daily shows, the Wings with their weekly pod, and, of course, highlighting things maybe that Sam has dropped on the website, access to the Discord, all that and much, much more. So plenty of reasons to be a diehard, but right now, $36, our best deal, and you can get a free football club t-shirt to go along with it. Luds?
I've got no ads to read, so I can just ask a question.
You can go right back to Kevin. Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, Owen was bringing up some of the deletions, I should say, I guess put it that way. One of the ads that I did like, I thought he would fit in well here, was Mangiapane. I don't know, maybe a middle six for me. What do you look? I mean, special teams. I think he plays on both sides of special teams. I think the price is good. How do you see him fitting in?
I think he's going to fit in quite nicely. Having said that, though, Luds, I remember last year at this time, everyone thought that Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson were going to fit in and be Leon Draisaitl's wingers that they haven't been able to find for him for a long time, and they didn't obviously work out. Mangiapane is an interesting player for me. I mean, 35 goals a few years back in Calgary, playing mostly with Lindholm for the most part and Blake Coleman. I think he's more of a top six to start and then see what happens from there. I could see him being penciled in on Connor McDavid's left side to start the season. And depending on how they float around Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, if they have him at 3C, then there's also an opportunity that maybe Mangiapane gets a look with Leon Draisaitl on the left side. But I like the signing. I thought it was a quieter one, and when you compare it to other ones, Ludsy. So I think that was a good signing. I'm looking forward to see what he does. By all accounts, Ladislav Schmid, who's my co-host, played with him in Calgary for a season, says he's a real good guy, a good team guy, good locker room guy, and should fit in nicely here.
Speaking of additions, it's not a new guy, but a new contract for Evan Bouchard. And we have a guy named Thomas Harley who was very interested in that AAV, $10.5 million. There's no doubt Bouchard's a big offensive threat for the Oilers. Right? We've seen it now for a couple of years where he's been a real pain for Dallas to deal with. Are you guys happy with the number?
I would, 10, he was going to get something around there. I mean, we're probably splitting hairs if it's at 10 or whatever, 10.5. I think it's a love-hate relationship with Evan Bouchard here. I mean, Oiler fans love when he blasts them, and he's got the 95-mile-an-hour slapper and a good one-timer on the power play. They love that. But then they see the defensive liabilities at times. And I would say, and I think Craig might agree to this, I think he's cleaned those up, not to an extent where it needs to be, where he's a legitimate number one defenseman. But I think he's cleaned up a lot of those areas compared to, say, 2 years ago. To me, he just needs to be invested in the game mentally a lot more than what he is. in the point where sometimes he doesn't look like he's all together in the game. And times a lot of people think that he turns it up in the playoffs because he plays his best hockey in the playoffs. And we've seen that the last 2 years. If he can get a little more consistent, I think he's worth that cash. But he has to get to that stage yet, and he's not there yet.
Kevin, I want to ask you about Leon Draisaitl. I was just looking at his numbers again. I think the goals he has scored are just
A lot of goals.
ridiculous. I mean, looking at the amount of times he's hit 50, on a less serious side, do you think he can hit 70? And on a more serious side, what do you think makes him so consistent? Where this team could not even be at their best. Connor McDavid could be hurt, and he's still finding a way to put in 50 goals.
70, I think, is a stretch. That's a lot of goals. Not many guys have reached that plateau. For me, it's his consistency on holding on to the puck. And I think some teams have figured it out that he wants to bring on the checker. He wants to initiate contact. He wants that checker to be in his back pocket and then break away because he's got the strength. I don't think there's anyone stronger with the puck to force a checker onto him and then be able to shake him off. I mean, 70's that's an insane number. I think he's realistically a consistent 50-goal guy for many years to come, but he's a hell of a player, and the Oilers are lucky to have him locked up for 8 more.
That's interesting, lads. I feel like it's not common that you have one of the best at drawing contact with the puck and then shedding the defender, and then they also have 97, who is he is the fastest player with the puck.
Mm-hmm.
Not really surprising.
They're
They're two
both
best
pretty
players
good.
in the world.
They are pretty good.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's a
they're
pretty
both
good
pretty
thing
good.
to have,
Good
right?
players, right?
Have you watched these guys
I
play
just
much?
figured that out now.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is what I deal with here, Kevin.
I see that. Hey, Leslie, Leslie, has anyone ever said you could be like Dirk Nowitzki's older brother? You look exactly alike.
He's
Just
right
the
over your
guy,
shoulder too.
I see it. He's just a spitting image of Duncan Dirk.
Oh, that's nice. Kevin, we asked Mark this. I think Owen did. Is the goaltending good enough? I mean, again, when you look at the team, they score goals. It looks like they're trying to be better defense. We've seen teams win with not top goaltending, right? And Skinner, I didn't even realize it the other day. Skinner's 26 years old, and they hired a new goaltending coach apparently. So, Is everything fixed now?
Not yet. I don't think you could say it's fixed. Is the goaltending good enough? Well, you would say if it's a one-word yes or no answer, you would say no. But having said that, again, that these are the two goalies that got within a goal of winning the Stanley Cup and got to a point where it's a best of 3 with 2 games on home ice the following year. The goaltending was just fine last year in rounds 2 and 3 when Stuart Skinner came in. He obviously had a rough start in the LA Kings series. Cal Pickard comes in, reels off 4 wins. But what are the options? To me, the options out there aren't really anything that's better. If you got 2 goalies coming in at $3.6 million, that's your roster construction. That's the way it is. I don't think they have a way out of this until maybe the trade deadline, and that's if things aren't going well in net. So I wouldn't expect to see anything until the trade deadline, and that is if both goalies, most notably Skinner, because Cal's getting up there a little bit, most notably Skinner would be off to a poor start or maybe having a bad first half of the season. But hey, it is what it is. 2 goalies at $3.6 million, but you don't find that anymore. You don't find that anymore in the league.
Kevin, is it confidence mostly with Skinner? Because I was at, games 3 and 4 they were in Edmonton, and watching them come out to that, first of all, one of the cooler intros in all of the NHL when they introduced the team, but watching Skinner open that door and walk through, he looked like he had won 5 Stanley Cups and was on top of the world. But then there's times where he looks like he doesn't belong. Is it a confidence? How much does confidence play in that?
So much. Last year, Grant Fuhr was my co-host for the first year of our show on Sports 1440, and that's the one thing that he always says about most goalies. It's all the time. It's just the space between their ears, and that's the same thing that with Stu Skinner. That's been like that since he broke into the league. Keep in mind here, Stu Skinner, when he signed his contract for the Oilers at $2.6 million, he was signed to be the backup. He wasn't signed to be a number 1 goaltender. They signed Jack Campbell to be the number 1 goaltender. That didn't work out, and they're still paying him $2.6 on the books for next year. So Skinner came in and with his last contract that he signed at $2.6 to be the backup, not the number 1. He's basically was forced into being the number 1. And to be honest with you, I think he's handled it quite well. to be a goalie of to come in like that under the pressures of playing in this market, I think he's handled it really well.
How big is that pressure? Because we know the expectations. We talked about that. We know the pressure of the high-end talent that he's on that roster. And it's not like he's one of 6 on the blue line or one of 12 forwards. He's one of 1 in the net. And we all know one mistake can be glaring, whereas if you're a forward, you turn the puck over, there's layers to kind of gloss over those errors.
Well, okay, you guys being in Dallas, I think that the easiest way to answer that question is go ask Dak Prescott, go ask Tony Romo, go ask Troy Aikman. What's it like to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys? Because that's
Troy
pressure.
didn't have a problem. He kept winning Super Bowls.
Yeah, but I mean, look, maybe the last 2, especially a guy like Romo, who had some great teams that he was playing with, and maybe it's Dak Prescott now. But to be a goaltender in Edmonton and a local guy, it's tough. I mean, you got to deal with a lot of crap. And I mean, for the most part, Stu Skinner stays away from that. He doesn't get engaged, and he keeps saying that he doesn't follow social media, doesn't read the papers, doesn't watch sports on TV. He doesn't listen to the talk shows. So he's handled it quite well. And I to be honest with you, I'm still impressed with how well he's handled it under the circumstances here, being so close and then still getting fingered by, again, fans saying that this team doesn't have the goaltending, and they're again 1 win away and 1 goal away, or 2 wins away, pardon me, and 1 goal away from back-to-back Stanley Cup appearances, what they had in the finals here.
Anything else before we get to the Stars?
I've got one for the sports show on 1440.
Do it.
So, Kevin, tomorrow night you hear that Bowman and Tree Living have been talking, and they trade Leon for Matthews. How do you see that show off?
Well, first, I don't think it would ever happen, but no, I think I wouldn't like the trade. How's that sound? I like Leon as a better player than Austin Matthews as a player, and Leon has had success here in the playoffs. They've been so close in the last 2 years. These guys want it so badly. He and Connor, and once the Connor contract comes in here after the orientation camp in Calgary, I think then everything is set in a row just to get ready for the season. So I don't know. To your question, I don't think I would like the trade. I don't think I would be happy if Bowman got together on a trade like that with the Leafs.
Yeah, I would think it'd be an awful trade. I just want to know if you'd stir the pot the next day.
Apparently not.
Just trying to cause trouble.
Well, no, I mean, I love Draisaitl.
Yeah,
I really do.
yeah.
I think if he's not playing with the guy, that other guy there, the 97 guy, I mean, there's more talk about him. And I think he actually enjoys that. I just feel that Draisaitl kind of not really flies under the radar, but I think he likes playing that way.
Well, they share the spotlight instead of just having it be on him all the time.
Can we stay completely off track for one more minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious. I'm curious. We're not going to go over. Kevin, who wins gold in Italy in February?
Oh, boy.
Putting him on the spot.
I wanted to.
Well, everyone obviously wants me to say Canada. I'm going to go to the United States. How's that sound?
I mean, sounds great to us. Yeah, we're happy with that. All right. So before we let you go, and again, we could ask you 100 more questions because there's so much, whether it's just Oilers conversations or Oilers Stars stuff. How do you see the Dallas Stars going into next season?
Like them. I mean, I like him a lot. And I mean, obviously a full season with Rantanen is going to be big. You mentioned him before. Thomas Harley's on the verge of being an elite defenseman. I hope he makes Canada's roster for the Olympics. I like what he did, called upon on short notice, last year in Boston and Montreal for the Four Nations. I think the depth is there in Dallas. They've got really solid leadership. They've got enough guys on the back end, I think, that can get by. I think they need to make a little bit of a tweak on the back end just to get a little more depth there. But I mean, I'm sure that Jim Nill will address that once the trade deadline approaches. But I like Dallas. I like him. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Dallas and Edmonton once again in the Western Conference Final 3 years in a row.
If you could pluck a player from the Stars roster and put him on the Oilers, who would you take and why?
Oh, well, I would take Harley in a second. just because he's a young, again, up and coming defenseman that is able to, he's pushing like Miro Heiskanen, I think, to be the top defenseman on the team. I think he's that good. So, and Heiskanen is as good as it gets. So I would take Harley, and I think he would fit in quite. The only thing is I just wish that he'd be able to play on the right side. I don't know if that's something that he can.
Yeah, so does the city.
I think Otter might look good on that team too.
Oh my God, Otter would look very good. Well, Kevin, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Even with the whole smack talk of this blue skies and not 100-degree weather.
Oh, it's so beautiful here. I think I'm going to go find one of those red Solo cups you guys have and have a nice refreshing drink right now.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Kevin Karius hosting the morning show, the Kevin Karius Show on Sports 1440 in Edmonton. And of course, thank you to both Kevin and Mark Spector from Sportsnet for joining us today. How about that, guys? The first one of the week is over. Luds, Sam, Elijah, Imo, and tomorrow we are not doing the other 31 because it is our 1-year anniversary show. So special stuff. We're not going to tell you about it yet. 2:00 tomorrow. We will do a Stars podcast live right here on YouTube. So make sure you're ready for that. Until then, hit the like button, subscribe. We're almost at 30,000 YouTube subscribers. So help us out. Sign up to be a diehard. And we'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.